Okay, so I talked to you all not long ago, so I will do my best not to repeat myself too much. Um, so, of course, the recorder's office deals in real estate, physical land. Um, we are governed by Missouri Statute Section 59. There are a lot of different documents that you can see. We have 95 listed document types in Greene County. That varies from county to county. I mean, we all see the same documents, but how we code them might be a little bit different. We have 95 listed, and we still took in 370 that were listed under miscellaneous. So there's all different manners of documents that we see. Deed standardization took place in 2002. Prior to that, not only would we see a multitude of different documents, but they would come in. You get multi forms that were all hooked together and perforated. You would get some that were 8.5 by 11. You would get some that were statement size. You would get some that were 8 by 14 that had a page taped to the front that you'd have to flip forward in order to get all the information. Everything that we keep in real estate is permanent. So our records go back to 1833. So in our main office on the first floor is where we deal with the public. So we take the mail-ins, recordings. We take people that are walking in looking for their documents that want to record. We record electronically. We assist people to do searches on their property. Like I said, our deeds go back to 1833, so you can search your property back that far. Our books in the vault go back to 1900. Prior to that, those books are stored down in the archives. But I do have everything digitized now. So all of those old books have been digitized. If you've got a book and page number, we can pull it up. We're still, of course, working on indexing those because there's millions of documents. So it's an undertaking, but it's wonderful that we don't have to go back and make a copy out of an old book to find it, or the film. Some of the film's a little sketchy as well. So of course, down there, we also answer the phone, assist people with getting copies through the phone. We take marriage applications, make copies of marriage licenses. If anybody has tried to get the real ID, if you're a woman and you've been married multiple times, you have to show how you got from your birth name to the name you are now. So if you've been married and divorced and changed your name each time, they want to see all of that documentation. And we have people that come in from the DMV that they go there multiple times because they're not looking at the paperwork that they've got. So military discharges, we make copies of those as well. Okay, so standardization. We have a rejection form. And this is half of it. Thank you, Angie, for making it legible. So we're looking for general document requirements. So if it's coming in through the mail or if they're walking it in, fee, if the fee is correct, $24 for the first page, $3 for each page after that, if it meets formatting requirements. If it doesn't, that's an extra $25. So these are all things laid out by statute. There are a few that are office, but most of those are all laid out by statute. The statute number is to the side. The formatting requirements that took place in 2002, grantor, grantee names for indexing purposes had to be on the front. The paper was 8.5 by 11, one-sided only, which made it a lot easier because we have to scan and microfilm those to keep them as permanent records. Legal description. So all of these things are things that we look for on the document. And we'll have people that'll say, well, they'll get a nice letter from the assessor's office that says, well, all the owners didn't sign, or this legal is not correct. And so then they'll call us and say, well, why did you accept it if it was wrong? Well, we take in a couple hundred documents a day. We do not have time to go research whether you put every single owner that was on there. We do look at the legal description to hopefully ascertain that it is a Greene County legal. Just last week, I had 4 counties that were submitted in a day that were not ours. And so we do try and check for that, but we are checking for the things listed here. We're not checking for the intent of the document, the legality of it. We're making sure it's an original, that it's been signed, it's been notarized, it meets all those formatting. And then other offices such as the assessor go through and they check and say, did you really own it to sell it? And is your legal right? So our document processing department, once the document's been brought in and recorded, then it goes to our processing department, which is up here on this floor. And they take care of doing the indexing into our system, the cross-check, so it actually gets indexed twice to make sure that the person caught it correctly, didn't make any errors in spelling or on the legal. It is then scanned, which is transferred to film. We have people who buy our subscription download. So this is everything that's done in a day. The images, the index, these are mainly title people that get that from us. And then once the film comes back and is checked, then we mail them out. Also in the second floor office, we process tax liens. The only thing that we're doing with tax liens is we're making them public record. So state and federal Department of Justice, they all send tax liens to us so that they're on record. Same process, takes place. They're recorded, they're indexed, they're cross-indexed, scanned, filmed, microfilmed. And we mail them copies at the time, the Department of Revenue and IRS. Microfilm is still, the only approved long-term archival method. It's been around forever. We are one of the only counties, I think, that has their own archive writer, and we actually have 2. My office has one, and our operations department has one, where they do microfilming for the sheriff and I believe the circuit clerk, and I'm not sure who else, but they transfer those to film so that, like I said, our stuff is permanent, but we don't keep the real estate documents because people want their document, and we don't have the room for them. A couple hundred documents a day, that's a lot of paper. And so we transfer it to film. We also have our own on-site film processing and duplication, which is done at the operations center. And like I said, I'm not aware of any other county recorder's office that is able to do that. Sometimes they're waiting 6 months to a year to get their film back. And so I'm kind of anal about it, I'll admit it. There are counties that they'll get the document, they'll scan it in and they'll hand it back to the person right then. I'm a little leery to do that. I don't necessarily, I want to know for certain that my copy is good and I like it before I'm handing that back to you. And so we say 6 to 10 days, usually doesn't take that long before we mail them back. But marriage licenses, that's governed by Section 451 in the Missouri statute. And so there is an application process. Both parties come in at the same time to apply. You have to be 18 without a guardian. As long as you're getting married within 30 days, you can take the license with you the same day. You have to use it in the state of Missouri or it's not any good. We have had people come back and it says Hawaii. No. Now it's invalid, and so they have to start the process over again. Those are also scanned into the system, certified copies. That's what's used to do your name changes. Any legal purpose now requires a certified copy. Used to be, there were 2 sides. There's still 2 sides. One is the keepsake side and one is the marriage license side. And the couple always gets the keepsake, and you used to be able to change your name with that. But after 9/11, the government wanted to see that it was actually a recorded official document, and so they started requiring a certified copy in order to do the name changes. And those records also go back to 1833. This is the top form of the application, and it has not changed probably in 30 years. This is done by the state. And that might be an older form because it does say groom and bride, and they have changed that. I think that is the only thing that has changed. You'll note on there that for race, there are 4 options: white, black, American Indian, and other. That's it. And we've asked the state to change that. They are not inclined to do so. A lot of this stuff is statistical. Our office does not care how far you went in school. We don't really even care how many times you've been married. But like I said, the state wants to collect it, and by statute, we give them that information. Would anybody like to take a guess what the highest marriage number is that we've had?
12.
No? 10's right. Yeah, 10 is the highest. And when they say it, we always look at them to see if they're going to laugh. You know, they're joking with us because they think that's funny, you know. And then they're like, "Oh, okay, you're serious. All right, we'll keep going." And, you know, or we'll have them, they're standing at the counter with the person they're going to marry, mind you, and they're giving us the sign down here underneath, like the person's not now going to see this form that we're going to put in front of them that has how many times you've been married. Or they'll just now have the discussion standing at our counter. And you can tell because one of the heads whips around and you're like, oh, yeah, this is what we're going to do. Okay.
Does an annulment count?
Yes.
Does that take that number down?
You still count it. That was a ceremony. Yep. And we asked the month and the year. We asked them to provide the month and the year that the last marriage ended. And we've had some issues with that. We had one just recently that came in and said, "Oh, we got married and his divorce really wasn't final." So what does that mean? So, well, that means that you're not really married, because you can't be married to 2 people at once. And so they had to do the process over again. So another $60. So yeah.
Cha-ching!
Revenue. And so that's the bottom half of the license. We have everybody sign after we make them take an oath. So we make them swear or affirm that they've given us correct information, that they are in no way related to each other. And if I can't count how many times I've heard, "Oh, she's my cousin." Yes, okay, that's funny. After the millionth time, it's still funny. And then and that they are free and legal to marry in the state of Missouri. And we have had people perjure themselves intentionally. You know, we just recently got a call. We had one that applied and has the license in hand who has a guardian. We do not ask if they have a guardian. We ask if you're free and legal to marry. Somebody with a guardian can get married, but their guardian has to appear with their paperwork and sign that document also. You'll see we do have a spot for parental consent. So if you're under the age of 18, that age did get moved up, used to be 15 with a court order. That has been moved to 17. No. 16? I'm sorry, I'm having a brain fart. But you can no longer marry, anybody 21 or older cannot marry anyone that is a minor. So that was a good change. Military discharges, those used to be open records. Those have been changed to protect the veteran. We did have instances where people were coming in and getting copies of somebody else's DD-214 and changing the information and then trying to record that, or stealing identity. So those are closed records. They're easy to get, though. If you are the veteran, all you have to do is fill out a form and sign it in front of a notary. And we have a notary in office just to do those forms, so that we're not making it hard for the veteran to get copies of those, and those are free. If they're 75 years or older, they're free to everybody. So, does anybody have any questions? Yes?
Do you have control over any of your fees, or are they all?
They are all set by they're all set by statute. The only one that has a little bit of leeway is our document fee. It states in statute that you can charge up to $2 for the first page, and $1 for each page after that. We just charge $1 per page for each copy, but everything else is statute. Yes?
You mentioned that you try to get the originals back, documents back in 7 to 10 days. Does that mean that you physically looked at your either digital image?
Yes.
To make sure that it's up to your standard, or does that mean you already have it on microfiche?
Oh, no, we already have it on film. Yes.
Okay, so you're processing film data.
Yes. Yes. We can get probably 2 to 3 days. It just depends on how many documents are taken in. 2 to 3 documents, or 2 to 3 days of documents on a roll of film.
I've never seen the machine. Do you have to have enough documents to fill the entire roll?
No.
You start the roll, or can you stop a roll halfway through?
Yes, we can run a day, advance it a little bit, run another day. Yes, yes. There have been instances, like when the processor's been down, that we will go in and just verify our scanned image, because as long as that's a good image, we could put it on film later if the film's not any good. But so we have done that, but unless the image is looked at, we don't turn loose of the document. But yes, we try and do the turnaround pretty quickly. The only ones that we do not keep would be your power of attorneys. If they come in to record a power of attorney, we'll make a copy of it in order to scan it and film it and give that back, because in a lot of cases, they need the original in hand. Yes?
For a military discharge, could a spouse or a member of the family get a copy of you if they were deceased?
Yes.
You
Yes.
just have to prove that you're in a relation.
Yes. Yep. And there's a place on the form that asks what relation. And in fact, there's a spot for a funeral director can come in and get one as well. So. Any other questions? Yes. There are documents that are that they're time related, like for instance, notice of mechanics lien or a notice of a list pendens. No, mechanics lien is the one that's you have to give notice within a certain amount of time before you file the actual lien. So there is a timeline on releases. They're pretty open, but there are some beneficiary deeds. That's what you can do to keep your property out of probate. So you can designate, I'm going to leave this to my kids, but it has to be filed prior to death. And we've had that issue as well, where they've come in and the person has already passed, and now they're trying to record the beneficiary deed, which states right on it that it has to be done prior. But I said, I don't have by statute the authority to reject a properly formatted document. So if someone was to come in and present me with a beneficiary deed that met formatting requirements, I, by statute, by law, need to record that. Whether it's going to be valid and they just wasted their money, that's another story. But I don't have grounds in which to reject it. And, you know, same difference with the property fraud. You know, people say, well, I don't want you to record anything in my name. If it comes in, can you watch that and not do it? It's like, no, you know, because again, by law, I can't. We do have, and I did bring these if you you wanted to grab one, we do have a property fraud notification. It's just an early notification. So you can sign up to 5 different names or variations of your name under an email. So if you've got several emails, you can play with that and you can change them at any time. But so I'm going to sign up my name, and then I take a loan out of my property. Well, as soon as that loan hits, it's going to send me an email and say, hey, one of the names you were monitoring, this was recorded. This is the document number. This is the type of document. It states, if you were aware of this document and transaction, disregard this letter. If you were not, now you need to take further action. Call the office, find out what it is. If you've got a common name, you might get notification of someone else's document. You know, Joe Smith, well, okay, what's your property? You know, is it your legal description? It's not your legal description. It's not your property. You don't need to worry about it. But it lets people have that early detection so that they know something's been done. I need to call my bank. I need to call an attorney. I need to call the sheriff's office, whatever. I need to take steps to protect myself. So, and then there is also, if you know veterans, please do not do DD-214 direct and pay money to file your DD-214 and get a copy. We do that for free. If you can't find your DD-214, we will put you in touch with your veteran administrator, and they can help you get a copy. But don't let your loved ones pay a lot of money to do that. Same thing with deed copies. These cycle through every so often. You need a copy of your deed, pay us $87, we'll get you a copy and we'll mail that to you. And they make it look like it's coming from a government entity. The last one cycled through, I think it looked like it was coming from Jeff City, you know, and people see that and say, oh, and most times you have your deed. You already have it. And if you don't have it, we can get you a copy of it for $1 a page. So throw those in the trash, just don't do it. That's all I got.